Well, I guess I could, I got my little prayer book here, and, before I even get started, and this will come around at the end, as I really wasn't doing nothing. I was just around the house, just piddling around, and I heard the Lord say, pay attention. Now this was February 9th of this year. Pay attention. And I wrote down, don't know what it means, but I'm paying attention. I wrote it right here in my book, February 9th. It was at night. I'm telling you, the Lord speaks. He's a speaking God, and He will tell you. February 9th, nobody thought anything was going on, and now I kind of see. I didn't know what I meant, but now I kind of see, Do you imagine being there at the Red Sea? Because really the pay attention comes out to stand still.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember what was happening there at stand still? The Egyptian army is about to crush them on one side, or they drown in the sea. Doomsday on either way we go. But pay attention. So, and I was praying there last week, and I really couldn't get it into clarity. I had two words: fear not. Those were the two words the Lord gave me. And I know that the Lord uses other people and things to expound on it. You know what I mean? To bring it into clarity. And then I couldn't, the water was muddy for me, You hear pay attention, you hear fear not, but still yet you need somebody to bring it into clarity. And of course Malcolm did. He brought it into clarity. So I'm thankful for that. I understand now more because of having a bishop or somebody of that nature that can bring. You hear the stuff, but you don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? It's like you got a jumble of stuff, but you don't have the instructions on how to put it together. You don't know this piece goes here and this one goes here. So to have a bishop, I'll just use that word, that can bring it together, put it together. So I want to call this fear not. Just simply. I haven't left our series on breaking free with Jabez. I really want to get to those last 2 points about increasing his borders and keeping from evil. But I just feel like this is so needful at this juncture to talk about this. Do you know the word that's on the news right now is pandemic, right? Do you know the Bible word would be crisis, right? Crisis. Do you know that the Greek word, if you got a Strong's Concordance, I believe it's 2919, is the word judgment, which is translated as the word crisis. Now, I don't know if you guys realize this or not. I've told you and I've told you. I feel like I'm talking to Zach sometime. I've told you and I've told you. The world hates you.
Yes, they do.
The world is out to destroy you. Why? The world was out to destroy Christ. You're His body. So why would you think it's strange that the world is not out to crush you and destroy you? So make no mistake about it. I'm not up here to deny the crisis is going on. It is happening. People are dying left and right, all around. They really are. I'm not making light of it one bit. And it will destroy us if we don't watch and be careful. And you'll understand what I'm telling you here in a minute. Denise sent me a video yesterday. Me and Tracy was listening to that as we were driving down there to the funeral. And, you know, the one part that stuck out to me was that guy, you know, they're over in the jungle and they have a flat tire. And, you know, the one of them has the attitude, oh my, you know, what else? Woe is me, and all this bad stuff that can happen, which usually does. And the one guy says, I wonder what God's got for us here. I mean, do you see the difference in attitude? You know, I've told you, it's, you know, Malcolm gives the parable about these people living on a hill and rocks coming down the hill and rolling through the camps and crushing the rocks or crushing the people. And some of them says, well, that's just the way it is. And then some people try to act like the rocks ain't coming, and they try to quote scriptures to make the rocks go away, but they still come. And some say, well, what are we going to do with this one? You know? And I thought, well, I mean, that's it. And then they went on to the story of how the Lord was in the whole thing. I mean, we quote the scriptures. He works all things together for good who love him, but boy, we sure don't believe it. We believe it on a good day, but do you believe it on a bad day? Now, and I got to say this before we can get in. You know, our minds, our hearing, they're great receptors. You can hear a lot. You don't even know that you're hearing it. And I realized over this last couple of weeks that you can hear so much that it will come in and actually affect you. Okay? It will come in and affect you. You remember the priests, they put blood on their ears? Got to have a circumcised ear, he that hath an ear. In other words, you can tune in or tune out what you want to hear. You know, Tracy's kids can tune her out when she says time to do stuff, and they can just tune her out. Because you can choose what you want to hear, you know, or you can tune in. Well, you can tune in to the pandemic, and with it will come fear and anxiety. You remember when we did our lessons on how to hear the voice of God? And we said anything that comes to you that brings fear and anxiety and unrest is not God. It's not Him. I'm not saying that stuff is not out there. I'm just trying to tell you, you know, who are we listening to? Who are we listening to? Who are we giving focus to? Who are we giving place in our life? Do you remember the scriptures in Romans chapter 10? If thou shalt confess with thy mouth and in thine heart that God raised Jesus from the dead, and it goes on to say thou shalt be saved. And so it's who you give place to, whom you fear. Guess what? That's who you serve. It really is. And I told you fear was just faith in the other direction. And if we can look at it right, the fear is the beginning of wisdom. It's the beginning of knowledge. It's the beginning of understanding. The fear of the Lord. Not the fear of the pandemic. You know, it's who are you giving place to in your life? Who are you giving all to in your life? You know? So, and you know, there's a rest left unto the people of God. You remember Elisha's servant? He goes out. I mean, I guess he breaks through. He looks out and he says, oh my God, we're surrounded. The enemy has surrounded us. Do you guys realize the enemy is surrounding you at this very moment? The enemy has surrounded you at this very moment. You should see it more so now than you could a month ago. Yeah, it's real. But what did Elisha say? Elisha sat there in calmness. Elisha sat there in peace. Elisha didn't even beg God. He just prayed. God opened his eyes that he would see there's more for us than are of him, than they are with them. And the Lord opened his eyes and he saw horses, and I love this, chariots of fire. I mean, do you realize that? Chariots of fire, mighty warriors. And this ought to tell us something right here. I got to give you this verse. Boy, you won't like this verse this day and age, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 6 and 7, wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, you are in heaviness through manifold temptation. You're in heaviness. I believe the whole world's in heaviness. Yeah. The whole world is in heaviness right now. Worry, great anxiety. And then he goes on to say this, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise, honor, and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. Man, what a verse. Stand still, fear not. Right? There's a power released in praise. We'll get back to that, but there is. Yeah. Now I want to go to Psalm 91 and look at this in light of everything that's going on. Psalm 91. And it's one of the greatest Psalms in dealing with this world and us walking in it. You do realize we're in the world. We're in the world, we're not of the world. We walk right through this world. So all these things, and you realize that, you guys go back and read in the book of Ezekiel where an angel went down through the city and said, mark everybody. Some are marked, they're going to be saved. Some are marked, destroyed. And look, the enemy would love nothing better than to destroy you. I mean, I just got to tell you that. It's not some fantasy thing here. This is reality. That's why we have things like Psalm 91. So let me read it. I'm going to read it out of the, you got the King James there, probably most of you, but I want to read it out of the, I want to read it out of the NAS, New American Standard. Yeah. And you can follow me along if you got the King James. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge, my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For it is he who delivers you from the snare of the trapper and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you may seek refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and bulwark. You will not be afraid of the terror by night, or of the arrow that flies by day, of the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, or of the destruction that lays waste at noon. I'm going to go to verse 9 and verse 10. You have made the Lord my refuge, even the Most High your dwelling place. No evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your tent. Y'all believe that? I mean, what a verse. And I love how Malcolm put it, and there's my phone. Otterbox. The crisis is real, but yet the real crisis is not the coronavirus. Yeah. And the crisis I'm talking about, very, very few are talking about it. There's an underlying crisis that's going on. Yeah. And I'll tell you what it is, guys. There's a collapse in our immune system. Yeah. You understand what I'm telling you? You know the immune system, you know what the immune system does that fights off? We were created to have an immune system that could stand against all the powers that would destroy us. All the physical powers, the mental stuff, the physical, the emotional. And when the immune system is poor or down, you know when guys go in, or people go in for cancer treatment, they give them the radiation and chemo. You know what it does? It destroys their immune system. And then they have to be quarantined. Why? Because a cold will kill them. A cold that you may get, Joe, and it not even affect you, but because your immune system is built up, it comes in, boom, and it goes on. But man, if your immune system has been destroyed, here comes a cold, you're gone. So I'm talking about our immune system here. It's down. When it's poor, when it's sick, it's like you're opening yourself up for attacks. Whatever disease, confusion of the mind, whatever. And without that immune system, you collapse. I remember when I was in the Marine Corps, this is a little side note, Tim probably know what I'm talking about. We had a Foot Locker. The drill instructor would come by and check all the time to see if your Foot Locker was locked. And if it wasn't locked, man, you was in bad trouble. Because he would always tell us, you've opened yourself up for a thief. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. So the immune system on my Foot Locker was padlock. So I had to keep, Logan and him to go to school. They got lockers up there. Boom, that locker keeps everything that you got squared away. So we have this immune system. So if I'm there and my lock is unlocked, guess what? Anybody can come in there and rob and steal. What's the thief want to do? His only purpose is to rob you and steal you, the thing that you have. And what is the thing that you have? You have life. So it just wants to take what has been given to you. And I'll tell you this, the news media lowers your spiritual immune system. Because they perpetuate fear on a massive scale to you. They keep pouring into you fear and more terror. And in the middle of that, they give you no hope. I heard President Trump the other day saying, the people want hope. Did you hear him say that? Yeah. That guy is there bickering and bickering, and he said, the people want hope. I said, amen. Christ in you is the hope of glory. They don't even know what they're saying, but I want to sit there and raise my hand and say, I've got a message for you called the gospel. I've heard people use the words apocalypse. We use that with everything that's coming bad. And I don't know where that come from, the apocalypse. The apocalypse is a Greek word. You go look it up. It simply means to uncover, to reveal. And it was always speaking about Jesus. Revelation, it means apocalypse. It means to uncover. It means something's already there and I'm taking the cover back. It means that I know this is silly analysis here, but I want you to know I lost my remote the other day. That's a tragedy. I couldn't find it anywhere. But all of a sudden, he's pointing to Caleb. All of a sudden I see further investigation. The remote has been covered up. So there was an apocalypse in the Moore house to uncover the remote. That's what it means.
There all along.
Okay? You with me? So the news comes at you with all their speculation. And you know what speculation is? It's not truth. It's not reality. I mean, we talked about this a while back. What is reality? What is your reality? Jesus Christ is Lord. I don't have to say who shall descend into the deep to bring him up. I don't have to do that or say who will ascend up to heaven to get him. The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth. The word of faith we preach. But all this speculation, and on the one hand, I guess the stuff, it could happen. I mean, your roof might cave in, a plane might hit your house, an asteroid might fly through and hit right down there at Copper Creek. I mean, you don't know. It could. But do you go to bed worrying tonight about an asteroid? You see what I mean? It's fear that opens the door to this virus. The virus is not the problem. You see, when my Foot Locker's locked on the gate, you can't get in it. It's the fear that's gripping the people. And that fear is what unlocks the Foot Locker. It's what opens up the door to the sickness and disease and allows it to enter into our body. And I know a little bit about the natural immune system. I try to keep a little bit in shape. It may not look like it, but I try. I try to walk. I take vitamins every day. I'm always telling Tracy, take your vitamins, take your vitamins. Tell the kids, Logue, he's a health nut too. And that's good. That's good. He's always eating healthy. And it keeps your immune system up. You know? I mean, it helps you to eat right. Naturally so. I mean, you should, all of us should take care of ourselves. I would love it if the Lord would bless Reese Cups and I could live on Reese Cups, but that prayer, He just won't answer me on that one. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, Lord. You know, I'm beloved. Bless this Reese Cup. But God has given us things, natural things in the earth. You know, really so. Natural things in the earth to help us. And we should, you know, a lot of times people forget that. And my gosh, people, sometimes they come and I'll just tell you, you know, somebody may have diabetes and they want healing. And I believe in healing. But it's like, look, you need to change your diet. Yeah, I mean, really and truly, here's the truth of the matter. So that's on that side of the immune system. But fear is the master breaker down of the entire immune system. It's worse than the disease. It's the fear of the disease is worse than the disease. And if you don't have that which overcomes fear, the other stuff don't work. All the other stuff don't work. What's the scripture say in Revelation? Blessed is he that overcome. Blessed is he that overcome. Blessed is he that overcome. Not blessed is he that got run over. Blessed is he that overcome. Remember I told you these fiery trials, they go to try you. Listen, there's been many pandemics throughout the history of man. This is not the first. I'm going to tell you, it ain't going to be the last. And the church will not be destroyed. I promise you. Cannot be.
Amen. No.
Cannot be. The church will stand strong, stand glorious, because the church belongs to the Lord.
That's it.
And that is that. Do what you want to with it. That's a fact. That's true. But I'm talking about we must have the ultimate protection, which is the opposite of fear. What is the opposite of fear? Patty said it. Well, you say, baby, I'm going to say it. What is love? Right? Divine love. Perfect love. Now, what does love do? Perfect love does what to fear? I got to have something come in and kick the fear out. Perfect love does what? Cast out fear. Perfect love comes in, kicks fear out. When you have perfect love, divine love, God love, the stuff that would attack me can't get to me. My immune system, the wall, the bulwark, it works. I love that story Malcolm told the other night about the baby elephant. If you guys was here, he was talking about the little baby elephant. And the mama elephant comes out, and it's good. You'll see where we're going here with Almighty. The mama elephant comes out and stands over top of the little baby elephant. And the little baby elephant looks out, underneath mama's legs and looks and raises up its trunk and its ears. And the big elephant looks like, you want to mess with me? I'll stomp you to death.
Yeah.
Now the little baby elephant could see all the dangers. He could see the lions and he could see everything else that would eat him alive. But guess what? Nothing would touch him because he's standing under the protection of mommy. You see what I mean? Little elephant ain't done nothing to earn it. He just was born. And he stands there in the shelter of his mom. The bulwark, the walls. It's as simple as this analysis that Malcolm used. If it's cold outside, you get up in the morning, it's 15 degrees, and you go outside buck naked. It's not very smart, is it? I mean, we would really think it's stupid. It's not very smart. And the elements are going to freeze you to death. You're going to get frostbite, and it could kill you. You agree with that? But if I put on all these clothes and all my insulation, and I go outside, I go out and work, and the cold don't bother me. You see, the clothes become my immune system so the cold can't get to me. You with me? I put on the protective clothes. The barrier. What is it that we put on? Put you on the Lord Jesus Christ. We find a refuge. And that in all of the life, in its sphere, its negativity, its potential of death, that it cannot get to us. It's coming at us. Yeah, it's cold outside, but it can't get to us. You know what that's called? It's called the gospel. People are so messed up with the gospel. As a church, I'll be going here in a few minutes. As a church says signs and wonders and miracles. Listen, signs and wonders and miracles don't go in front of the gospel. They follow the gospel.
Yes, yes.
People want to put signs and miracles out here in front. It don't work that way, Holy Gay. The gospel comes, then the signs and miracles. What's happened is a great breakdown of the gospel.
Yes.
And if there's a breakdown of the gospel, there can be no signs and wonders and miracles. What is that gospel? That good, glad, merry news that makes a man fairly leap for joy. Well, when is the last time people has heard the gospel, especially in the pandemic? We would think now is not a time to hear the gospel. Now of all times is the time to hear the gospel.
Yes.
This is of the utmost important to hear the gospel at this juncture. Everybody saying get on your knees, and I'm not against prayer, guys. I'm not against. I'm going to be praying this psalm, okay? But this psalm is not begging. This psalm ain't begging. It's an it is so psalm. I'll show you in a minute. It's an it is show, so I can rest in it. I don't rest when I'm a beggar. You know what? There's a guy up here on the corner, stands up here at the red light every day. You know, food, give me food. Listen, if I don't know what I'm going to eat, where do you think the panic and anxiety comes from? Because I don't know where my meal's coming from. I can't rest in the fact I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I can rest in the fact knowing there's a feast prepared for me.
Yeah.
I don't have to stand out and beg for nothing. All I got to do is come to the table and eat. It's that simple. I can rest in the fact. I don't stand on the street corner with a sign, "Oh God, please help." Oh my goodness. That fear opens the door. It's the master breaker down of the immune system is fear. The master breaker down. So we got to have that gospel. And the gospel we've been raised on, guys, was always a gospel of destination. A destination point, somewhere you're going. It never had to do with anything today. Now. The gospel is the greatest news of God's love embracing you now. Right this very moment. God loves you and He's embracing you. He's hugging you, loving you unconditionally right this very moment. You understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that in this world now, you live in a love relationship with God. It's called a life. You're joined together with Him in a relationship. Covenant relationship that He made. And He's embracing you. Gosh, we do everything in this world to run away from Him. And we sit back and we point the gospel is over yonder and it's not here. Jesus went around and said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Yeah.
It's here. Hey, a great light come to those that sat in darkness. He said, it's here. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. I will give you rest. That's what Elisha had a part of that gospel, when he prayed for that servant. Where do you think Paul got the worst? Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Do we believe that? What we need, that's why Paul also prayed the prayers, God, open the eyes of our understanding. All we see is the pandemic, the crisis is coming to us from everywhere. Open their eyes so that we can see the horses and the chariots of fire that have surrounded us, the covenant love that is embracing us at this very moment. Perfect love casts out fear. You know, to me, I'm thinking like I come home and somebody's in the house. They're not supposed to be there. They're big, mean, and tough, and you know, I'm kind of scared of them. And you know, then I call the authorities and I say, "Hey, police, there's somebody living in my house." And the police comes up there with the authority and the power, and they come up there with their pistol and they get the guy and kick him out and take him to jail. The guy had me scared. You understand what I'm talking about? But now there was another authority that comes into play here. You know, without immunity, you know what? A snail, a crab, they got a shell. And you get them out of that, man, they're open. Even before the virus or whatever it is attacks us, it's the fear of it. The image that comes into your mind. So what does it do? It comes in your imagination. Right? The first thing it's going to do is attack your imagination. Oh God, what are we going to do? So your imagination gets filled with what? Anxiety, panic, fear. Let me give you a verse here in 2 Corinthians. You guys already know where I'm going. 2 Corinthians 10. Listen to this. Verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we don't war after the flesh. We don't fight like they do. For the weapons of our warfare. So he didn't say there's not a warfare, but he said there is a warfare. And it's coming to destroy you. But the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're not like the world's. They're not like the world's. But mighty. Oh, so that tells me the world's ain't mighty. Did you get that? The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So carnal means not mighty. But ours are the opposite of that. But mighty through God. To the pulling down of strongholds, that stupid fear that gets in our brains, casting down imagination, every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. I mean, what's the weapons of our warfare? The gospel. The good news. I'm His. I'm beloved. I belong to Him. He is my God and I'm His son. Yeah. You're His daughter. Now. But you see right now what's being put out there. I mean, this is an apocalyptical event. It's doomsday. It's fear. Everybody's buying up everything and panic. You see, that's what happens when a dark imagination takes over. And do you realize you attract to you, or you open up to yourself what you fear? You remember Job? The thing I feared the most has come upon me. Do you realize? I remember this lady, Miss Aggie, used to live out from our house. And I would have to walk across the spring bridge and up these big old steps, catching the school bus, coming back home. And them old daggone waspers would get up on there and build a nest. And so you walk on them, shake the boards, and they come out. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but I don't like bees. Tracy don't like spiders. She jumps like a frog with a spider. And then an old wasp will fly in the house. And I'm getting out of the room. She's like, oh, it's just a wasper. I'm thinking, you was hooting and hollering over a spider over there that wasn't big as a pinhead. Evacuated the house. And there's 3 waspers. Oh, it's just a wasper. And her mama would just go over and get them, take them and get them. And, oh, and Miss Hagen would say, don't be scared. I'm like, woman, you're crazy. You're old and crazy. These things will attack me. And she would say, no, they won't. Just walk on by and don't be afraid. Well, when I would do that, you know what? They wouldn't bother me. But I remember one time over my Uncle Noyes, a big old bumblebee landed on me. And they could have got it off of me. And I panicked, and Sue hollered at me, "You got to be on it, you got to be on it." I was like, "What?" Man, that thing hit me here, went over and popped Gary twice and stung her. Because we panicked. You know what I mean? When we're living in fear, we're actually opening the windows and the doors of our soul to take in every kind of thing there is. We're giving it a pass to come and attack us, to steal everything we got, to come in and rob us. I'd heard this, and you can check it out. You know, in the 14th and 15th century, when the plagues hit in Europe, the bubonic plague, the black plague, Zach calls it the bionic plague. He's not here. The bionic plague. Yeah. People buried in mass graves. Well, they dug some of them up, and they would be checking those things, and they found out over 50% of the people didn't have it. But yet they still died of the symptoms because the fear gripped them. And they produced in themselves the anxiety of that disease and actually died from it. And when they checked their bones and DNA, they didn't even have it. Can you imagine that? 39 people died. 39 million people died. Half of them didn't even have it. I'm telling you, fear is real. In that sense, it will destroy you. It releases that terrible anxiety inside of us. Fear surrenders to the negative, all the doomsday, the confusion. But the ultimate immune that makes everything else work is that I come to the realization that God loves me, just pure and simple. With a love that's far beyond human love. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit genuinely cares for us. He cares for you. And the little minute things of your life. He's our protection. That's the reality. It's not a formula. Get up every morning and say 4 verses and then you'll be fine. It's a relationship. Right? It's a relationship. That relationship is your immunity. You hear what I'm saying? That relationship with the Father is your immune system. And right now what's being put on display is they don't have it. They have a relationship with fear. I mean, this relationship, it's that inner knowing that you're held in the arms of God who loves you, who is for you. Do you realize that He is for you? You're secure in His love. You didn't make Him start loving you. You can't make Him stop. It's unconditional. And out of that, knowing that, comes an attitude of love, which is stronger than fear. You remember, we did a lesson, I don't remember what it was called. Remember the disciples in the boat? Jesus is in the back of the boat asleep. Jesus is resting in God's love. He's resting in who His Father is. The Father told him, "See the pandemic? The waves are coming in. Don't you care? We're going to perish. Let's have a prayer meeting." I told you what the biggest miracle was. Jesus slept in the boat. They should have hunkered down and slept. But they want to get up and fight waves. Well, go out and fight them. Let me tell you how hard it was for Jesus. Peace be still. Now He turns to look to the disciples. Where's your faith? You know, a whole lot of people on the guy are rising up right now to fight the devil. And I'm telling you, get a pill and rest. That don't sound right, does it? That don't sound calm. Hey, we're going to go back to Psalm 91 here in a minute. You're secure in God's love. I mean, that's the gospel, guys. The good news that makes you leap for joy. That's what's behind Psalm 91. That we have an attitude of love that's greater than fear. Look at this. Let me go back to my... He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High. And I got to tell you this. Dwells. You know what dwells mean? That's where you live. That's not a visitation. That's where you live. And it says, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High. He's throwing this out there. It's almost the question is, do you know where you live? Now, I got to throw something out here because, see, here's where our gospel is win. This is kind of contrary because a lot of people said, well, God's over yonder building us a house. Well, you see, if he's over yonder building me a house, then this psalm won't do me no good. Because it's saying, you that dwell in the shelter, you know what a shelter is, of the Most High, will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. What that is, guys, you live in the presence of the Almighty. And that word Almighty right there is El Shaddai. Now this sounds, if you guys probably studied the names of God, El Shaddai means the breasted one. It means God is to us as a nursing mother. El Shaddai. That's what the Almighty means right there. So, you know what Jesus said, in my Father's house are many abiding places. There's room for all of y'all to dwell here in this secret place of El Shaddai that nurses you like a mother and takes care of you. I'm going to tell you right now, you know the old saying, a bear robbed of her whelps? Try that out. She'll wear you out. She'll kill you and stomp you to death. You don't mess with a mommy and her cubs. And now he's coming to us from this view that in this place that as a mother nurses her children, the sincere milk of the Word. Here comes the gospel, the shadow of the Most High. And that word shadow right there, it will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. That's a covenant word, shadow here. I've told you this before, but I'll go over it to you again. Back in those days, there wasn't no Motel 6. So when you were traveling, no Holiday Inn, when you were traveling, at nighttime you shut down when you didn't have a place to stay. So you could come up to somebody's tent. It's what they lived in, a very Middle Eastern culture. The way it was, you could come up to their tent rope and grab a hold of their tent rope, and they would take you in. They would give you their bed. If there was a bunch of y'all that was traveling and he only had a couple beds on the game, all of him and his family would sleep in the floor and they would give you the bed. And him and his family would go hungry to give you the best stuff that they had. Now see, we don't know anything about that because we're self-centered American culture here. But this was Middle Eastern culture. They would care for you as if you were God Himself. Because they believed you were a gift from God, that God had sent you to them to take care of. So they treat you like royalty. And you know what, guys, if I'm running, and this actually happened in Afghanistan in the 80s, and the Russians were there. And you can go look it up, they made a movie about it. One of the Russian soldiers went and did this with the Afghans and and the Afghans had to take care of him. He went and called on covenant. And you know, if I got enemies chasing me, as soon as I fall under the shadow of His wings, now He has to fight my enemies. All my enemies become His enemies, even if they were His friends a few minutes ago. He'll protect you. And you know what? He'll never ask how long you're going to stay. That's important. Kid never wear out your welcome. You don't say, well, today's, you've been here for 2 weeks now. It's time for you, Tim, to be moving on. Y'all eat me out of house and home. You understand? You can stay. I'm going to give you the other side of that. You remember Lot? Lot took in the angels, sent out his daughters. You remember that ugly story? The enemies are chasing these angels. And they go in Lot's house. They fall under the shadow of his roof. He says it. You can go read it. They fall under the shadow of his roof. And you know what he does? This is a beautiful picture of the cross here. What he does is he sends out his daughters. And you think, how could that? Well, let me tell you what happened. You come into the shadow of the Almighty. And He sent out His blessed Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. You with me? It's everywhere, okay? He testified. They testify me. We've come under the shadow of the Almighty. He embraces us. You know what? We're home. We don't have to go anywhere else. He's the nourisher. He's the protector. He's El Shaddai. He will protect us. No questions asked. Okay? No questions asked. And then he says in verse 2, let me get back here to verse 2. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. The I am is my refuge and my fortress. That refuge, he's my protection. And that word fort there means he actually repels the enemy. Right? They're coming at me, but actually the strength of that repels them, pushes them away. And look what he said, or look what he don't say here. He didn't have a prayer service and start asking God to be my refuge. He says, because I'm under the shadow of the Almighty, therefore, I will say to the Lord, my refuge, my fortress. That's just a fact. I don't have to pray about it. I don't have to ask him for it. It's understood. He is my refuge. Not going to be. Not when I get prayed up enough. It's just the way it is. And that's the language of simple faith. You want to know what a simple faith is? Simple faith is verse 2 right there. I will say to the Lord, my refuge, my fortress. He is it. He's received me. I'm under the shadow of, therefore, the I am is my refuge. That's the way it is. It is so. I don't ask for it. I don't beg for it. It is. And it's the way it is because he's the way he is. He's who he says he is. Divine love casts out fear. Right? That's what I'm saying. It repels fear. Divine love repels it. It is he who delivers you from the snare of the trapper. You know the trapper goes out and lures you in, sets bait, pow, to catch you. And what's it say right here? He delivers you from the snare of the trapper and from the deadly pestilence. Why do you think David would say, surely goodness and mercy is hunting me down, not deadly pestilence and a trapper? I've got something else after me, surrounding me, goodness and mercy, goodness and loving kindness. Verse 4, he will cover you with his pinions. That's another word for feathers, wings. And under his wings you may seek refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and bulwark. Yes. Let me tell you what he's talking about here. He's talking about, and I want to change the name of the mercy seat to the loving kindness seat. After what we watched Wednesday, we should change it. Because mercy comes to us as, I really want to kill you, Patty, but I'll have mercy on you. Instead of really loving kindness that is chasing you down, and covenant love that is embracing you. And you know what I mean? So we should change it to the loving kindness seat. Well, it was made out of one piece of gold, and on top of that gold was the cherubims, and their wings come together. Now, underneath those wings, God said, there will I meet with you. Yeah. So he's talking about those wings. He's talking about you are seated together with Christ in heavenly places on the loving kindness seat. And you know what? Can't nobody come in there and mess with you. Can't nobody come in there, old gang. I mean, you see what happens when somebody did come in there. I mean, that old king come in there, leprosy, eat him up, he had to run out. I mean, you ain't getting in there. That's where he sits. Christ seated at his own right hand. And guess what? You're seated with him in heavenly places. Under his wings. On the mercy seat. In the cherub. Man, that's beautiful. I mean, He stands between us and the crisis. He's our refuge. He's our shield. I'm covered. Remember, Jesus told him, I would have gathered you as a hen doth gather a brood.
Yeah.
I want to be your protection, He says. I mean, you're anchored, held. Jesus, the I am. You know, Jesus took all those I ams. He's the ultimate I am. You remember what He said? I am He that liveth. I mean, that sums it all up, brings it all together, don't it? I was dead, but I'm He that liveth. I was dead, but I'm He that liveth. I am livingness. I am life. I'm the ultimate life. I don't have life. I'm it. I was dead. In other words, I faced death. I faced your death, eyeball to eyeball. I was dead, but death couldn't hold Him. He contradicted death. How do you kill death? By resurrection. Once Jesus resurrected, death was shown to have no more power, no more authority. The only fear in the world is what? The fear of death. Hebrews 2:15 summed all that up. They're in bondage to the fear of death. I mean, that's why we fear virus, because why? It might kill you. Why we have fear of no food? Because it might kill you. Why we fear toilet paper? Because somebody else might kill you. Right? So, but it's all a fear of death. Terrible bondage of fear. Jesus entered into oneness with that death. He entered into it and He overcame it. And by Him overcoming it, therefore He overcame our fears. And He stands between us and all of our fears. And everything that would destroy us. He's the I am. The I am that lives, alive forevermore. I mean, guys, this isn't some poetry lesson or quoting a few verses. This is reality. This is the way it is. Remember Psalm 23? We looked at that Wednesday. Thou preparest a table before me whereat in the presence of mine enemies. That little old elephant sitting right there and can eat around and lions right over there looking like, boy, you sure look tasty. Well, the big mama's like, come try it. In the presence of mine enemies, the disease, the virus, everything is trying to attack you, and we're having a feast. That didn't sound right. I see the little beady eyes trying to get to me, but come on over and try Him out if you want. Come on over to the Lord and try Him out if you want. He's the one that protects me. He's my refuge. He's my fortress. I'm under the shadow of the Almighty. And here in verse 4, He will cover you with His pinions. Under His wings you may seek refuge. His faithfulness is a shield. His faithfulness. Thank God it didn't say yours.
Yes.
His faithfulness.
Yeah.
His faithfulness is my shield. His faith, not mine. Religion tells me all the time, you don't got enough faith. You ain't got enough faith. You need more faith. You need more faith. But Jesus said faith the greatest size of mustard seed is all you need. In other words, all you need to do is trust me. That's what Jesus is saying. All you need to do is trust me that I'm faithful to do it. That's what, I mean, Him being faithful is He's having faith in His own words to do what He says He's going to do. And my faith is I just trust Him. He keeps me. Psalm 56:12, He says, Thy vows is upon me. In other words, that's your sworn covenant. Everything you vowed to do, every promise you made, David said, it's upon me. It's upon me. That is, God, you swore by yourself that you would keep me. You swore by yourself that you would walk with me. You swore by yourself that you would walk ahead of me, that you would walk behind me. You would be on my right hand. You would be on my left hand. You would be my shield, my immunity. David said, your vows, Lord, are upon me, and I'm trusting in that. I'm trusting in that's what you said. I'm going to rest in it. So His faithfulness is a shield. His faithfulness is a shield. Now, It's like the guy, he looks out the tent door where he's at, and he looks out there and he sees the enemies. He sees a little beady eyes looking in the tent like, man, I sure would like to get in there, wipe all y'all out. But look what he says in verse 5, back in Psalm 91. This is God speaking. God is speaking this verse. You will not be afraid of the terror by night, or of the arrows that fly by day. God is saying, you ain't going to be afraid. You are not going to be afraid. Yeah, and you know the terrors by night. I mean, what happened when, guys ever have kids that get afraid of the dark? Got to sleep with the night light on? Because they're afraid of the dark. They have nightmares in the dark. But he says here, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have that. You can rest here. People don't want to go to sleep because they're afraid. Every thought empowered by fear invades our minds, our imaginations. We have thoughts of disasters, boogeymen, monsters, viruses, everything coming at us, destroying us. Nobody ever dreams about the love of God. Now the flesh keeps that away. Flesh makes sure to keep God out of the mind. He says terrors by night, arrows by day. But when your immune system is strong, that is when we're living in the relationship that all of God, that God is dwells in you. When the arrows come and the terrors come, they just bounce off. Didn't say they wouldn't come, but you got a shield. They just hit and bounce off. If you guys looked at the coronavirus, have you guys seen it? The little round circle with all the little prickly things sticking off of it. I don't know if you know what I think about? I think of a cocklebur. You know what I'm talking about? You walk by and that thing sticks to you. Well, your cells of your body are just around like a balloon cell. Okay? Well, here comes the virus with them little prickly things on it. What it does, it comes to the cell, sticks to it. Right? Arrows. Comes and sticks to it. Pow. And then it starts to overtake the cell and reproduce, and then here you go. But what is he saying right here? The arrows have come, but God is my shield, so when that comes, the little it can't stick. Just bounces right off. It's got nowhere to land. Do you see? I'm talking real stuff here. Science will tell you, but I mean, God's the best scientist. He wrote Psalm 91 before they ever had a microscope. They just bounce off. Now, let me get you verse 6. Of the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, or of the destruction that lays waste at noon. I mean, this stuff is looking for you to hunt you down, to destroy you. You know, the trapper, so I'm being stalked by hunters out to destroy me. But God is telling me back in verse 5, you will not be afraid. Verse 7, 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right, but it shall not approach you. You with me? You're putting out even. This is living in the shadow of El Shaddai. This is our basic approach to life, to learn to live in the shadow of El Shaddai and discover His divine health. I'm going to tell you something, guys. See, the mindset of the church is divine healing. But it shouldn't be that way. I believe in divine healing. I believe in laying on hands. But there's something more, something better than divine healing. It's called divine health.
Yes, yes.
It really is, guys. It's called divine health. And then when your immune system is right, you don't need healing. Divine health is more glorious. The sickness gets repelled by that which is greater. What is greater? Resurrection, which is Jesus Himself, who what? Lives in me. Death hath no more dominion. What was death? Fear of death. All their life living in bondage. Have no more dominion here. Can't rule here. No more dominion. That's talking about rule. Death rule. Death reigned from Adam to Moses and all the way up. But no more. Jesus Christ is Lord. There's a new ruler. And I'm under the shadow of his wing. And then you can go out and live under the curse of the doctors that tell you got 3 months to live, you got 2 months to live, it's going to be a global pandemic, 47 million people's going to die, and we can live under the curse of that. You've got this. They come out and say it's flu season. Well, guess what? Next year when it's flu season, don't participate. I'm just telling you, don't participate. There are things you don't have to participate in. There's all these viruses going around. Well, you can go out and live in a virus. You can live under the shadow of his wing. You can live under the shadow of El Shaddai. It's up to you. Whatever you want to do. If you want to participate in flu season, knock yourself out. It's just given to you by some witch doctor. We believed it, so we took it to ourselves. Then I'll go out and fight the flu all by myself. Just don't participate. I'm telling you, as I say this, there's life in the words that can deliver us from all manner of evil. Fear is a choice. I don't know if you know this or not. I can't help you till you realize this. Fear is a choice. You make a conscious choice to be scared. Choose you this day whom you'll serve. Right? Whom you serve, whom you fear. You either are going to be in awe and fear of the Lord, or you're going to be fear of the virus. One of the two. And so it's a choice that's given to you. You can choose to be scared or not. It's up to you. Fear doesn't hold me. I choose to hold fear. You understand? That's why those words come to you. Fear not. You know what? How many times did he say fear not? Do you realize he wasn't asking you? That's a command. It's a command. Fear not. It's not, it would be a good idea. It's a command. And God, by saying that, is telling us you have the ability to choose to live in the gospel. Fear not means it's a choice. You can choose to live in the gospel, or you can choose to be scared. I give you the choice. I mean, if you couldn't help being afraid, then why would he say to you, fear not? Why would he command it? It means there is a glorious world right now in front of your face where there is no fear. It's just the gospel, guys. I'm just telling you, it's the gospel. You remember when the angels brought the gospel? What did they say? We only talk about it one time a year, but what was the message the angels had? What's the message the church has now? Look out, it's over, apocalypse, doomsday, oh God, where, be scared, oh wow. But when the angel shows up, what did they say? We bring you good news, glad tidings of great joy. You have no idea what's about to happen here. See, we only talk about that at Christmas time, right? I bring you the good news, the glad tidings, great joy, right this very moment. Good tidings, great joy. And guys, this ain't some bravado. I told y'all last week, this ain't some arrogance. There's a real crisis out there. And I have respect for that crisis. It's going on. I'm not sitting here saying it's not real. People are dying. It's real. But we don't let ourselves be controlled by fear. And also, we don't do stupid stuff. So, yeah, you should wash your hands. All right? Don't go out and be stupid. I'm not asking you to be stupid. You know? It's like, I'm telling you, I can't live on Reese cups. You know, you got to have some fruits and vegetables. You got to have some meat. You got to have some protein. Eat right. Do right. Don't live by fear. And I want to tell you this. I mean, this is why I wanted to look in my book over there where he says stand still, where he says pay attention on February 9th when he told me pay attention. That word means, or the stand still, it means be present. It means be still. I'm waiting for orders. Here I am. I'm ready to learn. God is telling us, stop the raging chaos in your mind. Stand still. Be ready. What are we going to do in this situation? What are you doing in this situation? Let's see what God is going to do. Be still. Be there in expectancy. I'm ready for orders. And guys, I'm going to tell you this. You say, how can we do it? We can ignore fear by choosing somewhere else to put our thoughts. Why did Paul say, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth? You can choose where to put your thoughts in your mind. And we focus on giving Him thanks. Giving Him thanks for what? Who is He? For He's El Shaddai. You live under the shadow of El Shaddai. He surrounds you like a shield. He dwells in you. The power and the person of His resurrection surrounds you. It's in you. It's through you. And you say you don't have enough faith for that? Guess what? Neither do I. That's why I don't live by my faith. I live by His faith. I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave Himself to me. And I live under the shadow of His wing. And He said He would do this. And He says, I won't be afraid. Let me give you this last couple of verses. I'm going to switch translation to the Passion Translation. I'm going to start verse 11. Well, I'm going to start verse 9. This is just so good. When we live our lives within the shadow of God Most High, our secret hiding place, we will always be shielded from harm. How then could evil prevail against us or disease infect us? God sends angels with special orders to protect you wherever you go, defending you from all harm. If you walk into a trap, they'll be there for you and keep you from stumbling. You'll even walk unharmed among the fiercest powers of darkness, trampling every one of them beneath your feet. For here is what the Lord has spoken to me. I love this part. Here's what the Lord has said to me. So this is the Lord talking. Because you have delighted in me as my great lover, I will greatly protect you. I will set you in a high place, safe and secure before my face. I will answer your cry for help every time you pray. And you will find and feel my presence in your time of pressure and trouble. I will be your glorious hero and give you a feast. You will be satisfied with a full life and with all that I do for you. For you will enjoy the fullness of my salvation. And what he means there, you will experience all of me. Is that not awesome?
Yeah.
That's Psalm 91. Now, if you want a prayer to pray, pray Psalm 91. It's a great prayer. Just go pray it and read it and let the Lord just wash you in Psalm 91. I don't care, King James, Passion, New American Standard, whatever. Just let Him wash you in that. Let it become real to you and experience it, enjoy it. Because His words are, fear not. Fear not. Don't be afraid of this thing. You with me? Psalm 91. It's awesome, God.